All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Tonight we are going to be talking about meat. Yes. And I've got Mario with us tonight. The thesis is meat caused civilization. And I I hate to admit it, I don't have a song for tonight. And it's deep dive. So normally we do a little piece and then we drop back behind the paywall. But Mario, we've been kicked out of the creators program.
Yeah, I know.
So,
It's my
uh, so to punish Rumble for kicking us out, we're just going to stay live on Facebook and X and YouTube and everywhere.
fair enough.
Uh,
Fair enough. A system of constantly rising standards is what destroyed Japan. So, yep. Take a note, Rumble. Okay. Maybe it was good enough. Okay. Maybe it didn't have to go to a next level. Maybe you can't expect us to. Well, I mean, I don't know. What Rumble? What were you doing to
well,
promote? What were you doing, Rumble, to
and
promote the program? Anything? No, I don't think so.
and the fact is, we were growing. Rumble wants us to grow a little faster, and so we're going to do that. Oh, I am on the wrong microphone. Let me fix that. It'll take a second to boot up that audio handler system, and then I'll be on the right microphone. But yeah. Um, Before we dig into this, what are your just general thoughts before we get into the conversation on meat and civilization?
Well, it was my understanding for the longest time, okay, back in I guess the blue pilled phase, that it was in fact the rise of widespread agriculture that actually was the foundation of civilization, okay, and that entirely, essentially, heavy meat based diets were associated with the hunter gatherers, okay, with nomads who never really achieved anything beyond chieftainship. Okay, as far as government was concerned, okay, so their civilization, if you would call it that, was basically and small and decentralized. Okay, and that it was the huge agrarian, like granary stores. All right, say the Nile River Valley. All right, or of the even earlier in the Sumerian Empire with the the fertile floodplains of the lower Euphrates River. Okay, in Mesopotamia, that these were the sources of civilization. Okay, um, that basically a meat heavy diet was considered to be essentially the savage people. Okay, like the Elamites or the people of the Zagros Mountain in the ancient world, who we discussed, the Aryans, if you will. Okay, the Aryans, Scythians, were herders. All right, and largely had a meat and dairy based diet. Okay, that was the majority of their calorie source. And history really doesn't go into, at least as far as I thought of a new term. Maybe it's not a new term, but I thought of a term, culinary anthropology. Okay, which is what we're discussing tonight is culinary anthropology, right? Um, so you have hunter gatherer and then farmer, right? That's dialectic from the ancient world, and then you also have the herders versus people who till the soil, herder versus farmer, right? And this divide extends just beyond the basic nutrients of people, or even like what civilizational outcomes they had, but it even divides religion. Okay, whereas the Semitic people were largely herding people. All right, whereas the people who did not live in the desert, who had the productive farmlands with the seasonal rains and seasonal flooding, were like the great civilizations of the age. Right, so I am, yeah, but I do think, especially in a post diluvian age, right? After the Atlanteans were wiped out, okay, after the Bronze Age collapse, that it was in fact the northern barbarians, if you will, the herders of the great Central Asian steppe. Okay, the Scythians, the Aryans. Okay, our ancient ancestors. They were the ones who, through superior brain power, were able to reestablish civilization, and as such, the white man has been the torchbearer of civilization ever since. Right, due to the environmental and physiological and mental impact of cold environments, okay, and of heavy meat based diets, right? So I kind of like you can look back to the legend, say, of the Anunnaki, right, who were aliens who came to Earth and created like a brown, black-haired slave race, right, whose job was just to constantly toil and extract gold for them, right, because gold was essentially the vibranium, if you will, okay, that powered the Anunnaki's technology, right? And they
Right.
were grain fed, stupid and servile people. Okay, the grain eaters, like the meme goes when someone says something so grain fed, you just got to hit them with the hunter gatherer stare. So, but yeah, that's my opening thoughts on that. Okay, let's see what Aaron has to say. By the way, good evening. I just made some. I'm a little tired right now, but I just finished brewing a pot of coffee, so I should perk up. Found out yesterday that I got approved to take my real estate appraiser license. Took 10.5 years to get here, but hey, I made it. Yeah, well, hopefully this time there's not a woman in charge of deciding whether or not you get your button. Okay, so and Aaron is, of course, on a never-ending quest to save his girlfriend. Okay, hopefully he does get his pretty princess. All right, in the near future. Once he starts flashing around those the sigils, okay, that he shall wear adorned on his breastplate and codpiece, okay, of being a prince of the real estate industry, surely the women shall fall into his lap. Okay, all right. David says Rumble takes a ton of time to live stream again. I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on there, David.
it is what it is.
Hmm.
And to what Mario was just saying about being the man, taking care of them women's.
Hmm.
I got a little something, something. Because as you know, I make the best AI slide. Have you seen this, Mario?
I have.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
I was uh, I was amused with myself over that one.
It was so
Oh,
subtle, I almost didn't get it the first time. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, they need. Okay, got it. They need him to open the jar. Okay.
oh,
Ran out of cranberry juice, so we're using black cherry tonight. Okay. It's a different vibe.
ooh! I bet that's actually delicious.
It's a different vibe check. Okay. It's pretty good. It is pretty good.
So it's black cherry, but it's otherwise just straight up a
It's vodka.
uh,
It's vodka
black
with black
cherry
cherry.
vodka. So it's a Cape Cod with black cherry instead of cranberry.
Correct. So
So
David says your eyeballs develop.
let's talk about the importance of our diets to our general development. And we'll start with this. In over 50% of the U.S., a third of the people are obese. Does this look familiar? Does this? Do you feel like this sometimes? Is this how you want to go about losing the weight? The truth is, you look like a cow because you eat like a cow. So forget about the fancy cheeses, the floppy cheeses, the nasty cheeses. Try horse cheese. Horses are far superior. They're friendlier. They're more romantic, more athletic, more aquatic, more playful, more comfortable, more fantastic. They have a better diet, and most importantly, they don't eat their young. So try horse cheese, because after all, you are what you eat.
I always consider that one of the most disturbing shorts that you've ever made. Okay, because it had one. I can appreciate some absurdist humor, but there is some like psychosexual context going on in there. Okay, which leaves me deeply uncomfortable. Okay, probably ever since the time I've told this story before, but I was 5 years old. I hate horses. Okay, Mario does not like horses. All right, Mario is not a Scythian. All right, Mario is a half-naked Celt. Okay, waving a spear. Mario is a Roman infantryman, okay, marching miles a day, carrying his pile. All right, Mario's not a horseman. Mario fears the horse. Okay,
I was built to carve the horses out from under Roman cavalry.
Good on you for that. Okay, but yeah, it's just I was 5 years old. 5 years old. Went to a summer camp ranch thing where we were going to ride horses. And the horse that I was assigned to ride, before I was able to mount it, okay, I watched in horror as a 1 foot penis dropped out of its fucking lower chassis and just started pissing gallons of foul smelling piss all over the floor. 1 foot of wiener just waggling everywhere. Okay. And I'm just like, I don't want to get on the horse. I don't want to get on the horse. I'm like crying. Okay.
Like a fire hose that everybody's afraid to jump onto. Just let it run.
It was absolutely traumatizing. Okay. And I've hated horses ever since. So,
all right. Well, let's argue the case, because what you were describing, that is kind of the traditional wisdom. It's kind of the way it's taught in public schools, is that basically we were able to develop civilization because of agriculture, because of the development of agriculture. But that kind of picks the story up in the middle.
Right. We're going back to like the proto development of the humans.
Yeah, we're talking about hominins, right?
Right.
Creatures that were not quite technically human yet. And the thing about meat, obviously humans are not the only beasts that eat meat. But we'll get there. The first achievement that's unlocked is consuming meat, right? Now, there's nothing out there that eats only meat. The most carnivorous beasties, right? Take a lion, for example. The camera's off more so I can take my shirt off and enjoy the fan than to smoke covertly.
Do you have your proprietary testicle fan mounted and streaming
Absolutely.
Right now? Hell yeah, brother. Hell
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to keep them off the back of my knees, man. It's hard work. Anyway, so lots of beasties eat meat, especially the great apes, right? But they don't cook it. And this was a major stopping point. But even before we get to there, just the general consumption of meat, that foundation. You've got the dense source of complete protein, iron, B12, zinc, and the fats. I mean, your brain is basically made of cholesterol.
Yep.
And Mario, you've spent some time in a weight room. You've done some push-ups. You understand that, yes, protein.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go run 5 miles this morning. I'm gonna eat 6 eggs for breakfast and a half a pound of bacon.
I wouldn't. I would eat that afterwards. Okay. I'm more of a.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm more of an oatmeal man. Okay. If I'm going to be running.
No. I am talking about afterward.
Okay. Perfect.
When do you ever remember going to the chow hall before PT?
Yeah, you needed to load up before then. Okay. I would. Aaron says we need to protein max. I would protein max. Okay. I would before the night before PT in the Army or in the barracks at DLI. I would drink. I would eat cubes of cheese. Okay. I would eat whole garlic cloves, and I would drink beer. All right. And this would give me the gut biome necessary, not just for high powered physical training in the morning, but it also essentially turned my colon into a biological weapon. All right, that I would employ mercilessly against my fellow soldiers. Okay.
I recall. Hey,
But
actually, on that, since we're talking about running, I wish he was watching, but I know he's got to work in the morning. But our boy Cameron ran a fucking 10K today and came in second.
Yep.
Not second for his 45-year-old age group either. Second overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling him, he was saying something about how good it felt to set a goal and achieve it and all that stuff. And I was telling him when I was talking to him earlier about us, I want to say I get it, brother. I understand, because I've run that and more. I've run 10-mile runs. I've done some long ass runs. But the fact is, even though I was kind of a fat boy when I joined the Army and had to lose a bunch of weight and get fit, when Mario and I were running, we were essentially professional athletes, right? Every day, physical training, running, calisthenics, PT, etc. Turbo maxing that fucking protein diet, eating 5,000 calories a day and burning 6, hitting it hard. And what Cameron has done, Cameron never was any level of athlete. He was never a real fat boy. He's much slimmer now than he has been, but he was never substantially overweight. But he's only been at it for about 6 or 7 months as a middle-aged man with no history of real physical activity other than just work. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to start running. I'm going to get myself in great shape. I'm going to do this thing. And on that short a time hack for
and I know you're not. Okay. Can you just be fucking normal again, please? Please, just be normal. Okay. Mario, are you hating on a man's game? Wow, Mario. Yeah, you're such a spiteful mutant. Okay. Yep, I am. Okay, I am. I have only recently overcome a disastrous hurdle and obstacle in my middle-aged life. Okay. And I've got a long rebound to go. But yeah, Cameron, I think you had a total mental breakdown. You're literally not the same person that I first met. Okay. Are you better? Are you worse? I don't know. But you're different. And I don't like that. And that's just my opinion on the matter. Okay. And that's
well, your opinion on the matter sucks. Let's move on. So the next big achievement. Okay. So we're
man,
we're meat eaters.
We're talking about meat. You didn't mention this has been alluded to in science fiction. Okay. Remember the scene in 2001: Space Odyssey, right, where the Monitor? No, it's not in the movie. It's in the book. Okay, who wrote that thing? Arthur C. Clarke. 2001: Space Odyssey.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. In the book, okay, there's a where the monitor appears, okay, and then the chimps basically they congregate around it, and it doesn't just teach them how to use like the bone as a weapon like it shows in the movie. It teaches them all kinds of things. There's one particular scene where a chimp is basically through mind control being forced to, or like being compelled to, tie a knot with a long blade of grass, okay, and the brain overheats and the thing just dies. Okay, does not have the requisite. It doesn't have the requisite brain matter, gray matter. Okay, to be able to comprehend tying a knot. Right. So then, what's the next thing that the monitor? And everyone knows what I'm talking about. The monitor, right? Like the big black rectangle. Okay, that's from the movie 2001: Space Odyssey. Okay, then it compels. Okay, one of the chimpanzees to club some herbivore to death, okay, with a bone. And after it clubs it to death, and no, none of the other animals even run away because they don't understand, because they have never been preyed upon before, right? The chimpanzee starts eating the bright red flesh, okay, that's been exposed, and the other chimpanzees gather around and they start eating the flesh too, okay, and from there is when the chimps become trainable. Okay, when they have high quality, nutrient dense food, protein dense food. Okay, and like you say in the slide, protein, iron, B12, zinc, and essential fats. Right, for brain development. Only that is when they begin that long road to civilization. So, really, really interesting book. Okay, the movie's great. Okay, the book is also extremely interesting. I had to read it in high school. We actually had a science fiction elective in high school. And
nice!
I fucking jumped right on that shit, of course. Yep.
Yeah, I'd have been all over that. I never read Space Odyssey, which it's a collection of short stories by Arthur C. Clarke, right?
Correct.
I never read the book. Obviously, I've seen the film. God, it's been a while though. I was reading a lot of Heinlein in high school, and a lot of philosophy. So,
David, I'm not sure we're going to be talking about any certain human species, hominid species on the planet right now that share 19% of their DNA with an extinct sub-Saharan hominid species. Okay, I'm sorry to disappoint. This might not be that episode.
It might not be.
And that's an elaborate way of saying N. Okay, so. All right.
It might not be.
Might not be. All right. Anyway.
Or I might have a slide for that.
Oh, dear.
So, okay, we're eating meat now. Now we're hunting. Now, here's what's interesting about hunting, right? That's actually the earliest kind of organization, right? You think of hunting in the modern context, you got a firearm, a rifle, or a bow and arrow, right? You have a projectile weapon. And you're hunting something extremely passive, like deer, turkey, something like that. And the real trick is just holding still long enough to get a shot off. Well, yeah. Thing about deer is they're fast.
Fast as fuck, boy.
They're fast. So you're not going to run them down.
Nope.
Right? And they do smell you. So you need a little distance. It's not impossible. I've jumped out of a tree and killed a deer once with a knife, but I had a couple of buddies running it out of the bush.
Get fucked. No, you did not.
Yeah. Had to have a couple of guys running out of the bushes, jump down on it. It beat me up pretty good before I got it cut, but it worked out.
Was this in Chris's like primordial phase? Okay, in his teenage years when he was pure savage. Okay, before he had learned.
I was about 15.
Before he had developed speech. Before
it was in the woods in Maine. It was First time I ever opened one up, and we just roasted bits of it over some fire and left most of the carcass in the woods. It was one of those. I. It was one of those. You can't do that. Bet, bitch, bet. Oh, but my point is, even then, right? We had to organize. We had to have a couple of guys on the ground, kind of scouting and setting it up, and moving in on it from different sides to kind of direct it to where I was waiting to jump down on it.
Right.
I mean, if I'd have just sat there waiting for one to run under me, I'd have been there forever. So the hunting is actually one of the earliest organizational structures before any other kind of civilization beyond a basic family unit, where you've got, the boobies in the cave with the babies while daddy goes out to gather before he's really hunting. And now you're getting into organization. You're getting into yes. Oh, David says, "Oh Lord, Chris had his hold my beer and watch this moment." Oh, David, I've had plenty of those. I've had quite a few of those. Oh, Mario can tell you some stories too.
I could, but I won't.
I think my favorite hold my beer stories are actually, let me hold your beer stories.
Yeah, those are always always dramatic, always dramatic.
But yeah, the thing about the hunt, the thing about meat is high risk, high reward.
Yep, it's the most nutrient dense food that you can eat. Okay, and you can't just pick it up off the ground. Okay, I mean you can, but I wouldn't recommend eating carrion. All right.
Right.
We don't have a pH. We don't have a stomach with a pH of 5. Okay, like a vulture. Okay, where it can just power through any kind of microorganism that the meat might be contaminated with. Okay,
and we don't shit on our own feet to make fecal rubber boots.
Well, Cyber does, but he's an anomaly. Okay,
actually, we went and watched. We went to a lecture at. The wife and I took the kids a few years ago and went to a lecture on different kinds of birds at the botanical gardens in, what's the name of that place? It's in South Georgia, the botanical gardens. Anyway, so they told us about different types of birds, and they had all the birds there. So they bring out the hawk and tell us about the hawk, and they brought out a vulture and told us all about the vulture, and it's actually fascinating. I was especially entertained by the fact that they literally intentionally shit on their own feet, basically to make a pair of rubber boots to protect their feet from the infected carrion that they cut around in.
Well, that's a remarkable survival strategy.
It is. It really is. But yeah, so.
But yes, I think what you're saying here is that the act of hunting, okay, and the need for cooperation is basically like a precursor, okay, like a proto civilizational moment, right? Whereas basically prey animals, okay, or herbivores do not have to cooperate, okay. The fruitarian animals, okay, like monkeys that don't eat meat but they do eat fruits, okay, they have some limited strategy, okay, and basically how to shake and knock down the fruit from the tree. But for pure herbivores, there is none of that. They simply follow the grazing lands, okay. There is no strategy. There's no calculated risk, okay. There is no tool making, right? And the meals that they eat are low calorie, which means they have to spend the majority of the day eating. And when you spend the majority of your day eating, you're not going to have any type of division of labor or any type of what is that noise?
What noise?
There was like a brrrr noise that came through. I don't know. It went away. But yeah, there's not going to be any division of labor, and there's not going to be any specialization. Okay, of tasks. Okay, within a group of people, even if it's something as like whether it be a clan or a tribe or whatever. Okay, but when you're pursuing food that is as nutrient dense, all right, as meat is, then that can allow for that specialization. Okay. And like you said, everything in this slide, it's the first form of cooperation between people that did not involve just making more people.
Correct.
Does anyone else hear that noise, or is it entirely on my end? Because if it's entirely on my end, I'm concerned. Let me know in the chat if you hear a weird buzzing feedback sound in the background. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not hearing it. I've got some fans running between the machine and my floor fan, but other than that, I'm not hearing anything.
Aaron here says it's the fans.
Aaron says it's the fans. I can turn them down. That's love for you guys.
That's what it is. It's an oscillating fan, and when it hits the exact fix on you, that's when it's audible.
Gotcha. So
sorry, man. You're gonna have to get an ice.
I turned them down. But I got to keep some airflow in here. So anyway, yes. So yes, organizing the hunt. That's kind of the first cooperation organization, the earliest form of civilizing movement in humanity. And the other piece of it is, like I said a minute ago, the high risk, high reward. A hunt can go on for several hours, right? You're spending a lot of energy to make that kill.
Days.
But you're hunting large game. Yeah, or days even.
No, for days. Like there are accounts of of Native American tribes in the great or in the near the Rocky Mountains, right, where they would for days kind of dress as wolves and stalk a bison herd. Okay, slowly moving them in a direction, right, until they got them near like a cliff where they could stampede them off a cliff, right, and then it would basically just be infinity meat. Okay, more meat than they could even eat or dry and preserve. So yeah, it can be quite complex.
And that brings us to the next achievement to unlock: fire. So, fire created something very powerful. One, cooking the meat makes it easier to consume. Right? Part of the evolutionary record is that our teeth got smaller, and we didn't need as many. Well, no, yeah, the teeth got smaller, which made them harder to damage because we didn't need quite such large, aggressive teeth to shred raw meat as we learned to cook. And so there are obviously other beasties that consume meat, and in particular the great apes, right? Gorillas, bonobos, chimpanzees. They all eat meat as well. So the but when they're eating the raw meat, they're getting their nutrients very slowly. The greatest advantage, evolutionarily speaking, to cooking meat, apart from eliminating pathogens, is making it easier to consume, so that we can rapidly ingest nutrient-rich food and spend the least possible amount of time consuming the fuel that's used to fuel productivity. Right.
Yeah, because if you're going to try to eat raw rhinoceros meat, yeah, you're going to need a set of teeth like Baraka from Mortal Kombat. Okay.
Exactly.
But seriously, fire is the first technology. Okay, it is a technology. It is like if you're playing like Civilization, okay, and you have your beginning tech tree. There's one that comes before pottery. Okay, it is the ability to master fire. Excellent movie. Sure, most of you have probably already seen it, but there is a movie, The Quest for Fire. All right,
Yeah, of
where
course.
it involves a Neanderthal who falls in love with like a proto humanoid, okay, proto sapiens, right? Um, and the mastery of fire is something that they have not achieved yet, unlocked yet, okay. And life or death can was dependent on maintaining a fire that they cannot understand but can only keep fueled, okay. So yeah, very first technology. And yeah, you mentioned disinfecting is also the key thing there. All right, it's much safer to eat cooked food than it is to eat just raw meat. All right, because it can kill the pathogens.
And without going too far down this particular rabbit hole, it the advent of fire also created the phenomenon of community gathering,
Mhm.
which is so essentially you can say that fire gave us language. It created, rather than the need, it created the opportunity and the time by extending usable daytime beyond the sunset, signaling a gathering position, drawing groups together, and the initial engagement in the development of language. Uh, we just watched a film with the kids the other night, Mario. Have you ever seen the old movie Caveman with Ringo Starr and Dennis Quaid?
No, no, I've never even heard of it. It sounds hideous.
It's hilarious. It, it's basically a gag reel of two cavemen accidentally discovering one advancement after the next, right? And the whole thing is basically a comedy of errors and centers around Ringo Starr trying to hook up with this supermodel, but the supermodel is dating the giant football player, and it's a star-studded cast. Uh, well, it's a star-studded cast from 1981. But basically, the year it came out, everybody in it was, it was Ringo Starr, Dennis Quaid, and then a who's who of supermodels and football players and all that. And one of the big things that's going on through the whole film is the development of language. You right, there's one Chinese guy that shows up at some point that speaks English for some reason and just capitulates to the fact that everybody else is trying to grasp language. It's a very funny film. One of the big points in there's a big storm, lightning strikes a tree catches on fire, and they figure out how to harness the fire. And then they get raided by the other group of cavemen who come and take their fire. They grab the sticks that are on fire from the central fire and then stomp out what's left and run away with it. So they counter raid and get their fire back eventually. And that, it's handled in there in a very slapstick, Three Stooges, physical comedy sort of way, but it's actually a pretty clever commentary on what we think is actually how that kind of went down. Somebody had fire. They didn't make fire yet. They found it somewhere, and then, like Mario said, they couldn't create it, but they could feed it and maintain it.
Right.
Right.
Well, it sounds like the opening scene of a Quest for Fire, honestly. As for me, I'm more of a Brendan Fraser and Encino Man kind of guy. Okay. I think Ringo Starr is probably one of the least interesting man in the world. Okay. And I simply cannot watch anything with him.
Oh no! Do yourself a favor, man. Caveman, great film.
I won't do a damn thing for myself, and you know it. I won't. Anyway.
So of course, fire brings us to cooking, right? And we already covered a lot of this. Breaks down protein, starch, and toxins, right? Mario, what is a perfect steak?
Perfect steak would be salt and pepper, medium rare.
Why medium rare?
Because you don't want to kill all the natural amino acids in the meat, and it tastes better.
Well, why not blue rare? You're not going to kill off all the amino acids if you just eat it, barely seared on the outside and bloody cool center.
Well, dear goodness, Chris, what shall I say? It is the culinary Nicomachean virtue, okay, is medium rare, okay? It is not too rare, and it is not too done, okay? That's why. Acceptable
Correct.
answer?
I know what your answer was going to be. And I agree with you. And I don't just agree with you because you're correct. But let's talk about why he's correct.
Mm.
There's a religious, a theological feeling that comes in the careful balancing of blood and fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, blood and char in the same bite. That is perfect.
Yes.
Mm.
And it's not just that magic of that perfect flavor. At medium rare, you actually start to get the tendons and muscles to begin to break down, the fat to render out, right? And everything is beginning to chemically deteriorate to make it easier to consume. Plus, you've hit enough heat, right? You've hit just enough heat to kill off basically everything we've ever been afraid of in bad food, right? But when you go past that point, you're starting to not just break down the physical muscles and make it easier to consume, easier to process. Now you're going too far in the wrong direction, and it actually becomes more difficult to process.
Right.
And that meat that is now tougher and harder to chew and harder to digest has also had the specific nutrients you're looking for degraded, so that they're less valuable than they were, 15 degrees ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that medium rare, I like to do ribeyes in the oven until they're just barely rare, and then take them out to a 600-degree Blackstone and throw them on there for no more than a minute and a half per side with a great big old glob of butter. And as soon as I throw the first side down, I walk over to my little ledge garden and grab a fistful of rosemary out of it and just rub the raw stems of rosemary so the little tiny rosemary leaves fall off, and salt and pepper. Best bite you'll ever put in your face hole.
Yep. If you need to put steak sauce on your steak, something wrong with your steak, okay? Or there's something wrong with you. But Chris, you making me like I'm now underwhelmed by the dinner I ate. Okay, now you got me thinking about Ruth's Chris Steakhouse right now, man. And I'm like,
brother, I had three chili dogs. I had 3 chili dogs at a birthday party for dinner.
Grim. Your gut biome is struggle city right now. You might need to.
Oh yeah, one of those grumbles you were complaining about hearing over the microphone just might have come out of the back of me.
You might need to consume some grist, okay, like your chickens, to help you digest that, okay. Or you could just be like Cyber and get rid of your gallbladder and fucking jettison that shit in 5 hours, okay, or less.
Oh, good. I think I'll stick with my usual, 2 or 3 scrambled eggs and a handful of dates and mixed nuts for breakfast.
Oh, okay. Very, very Spartan. I like that. All right. Also, I'd like to add the carbonization, okay, or the char on the edge of the meat also has a antibacterial effect. Okay,
yes.
That is nature's sponge. Okay, carbon, particularly charcoal. All right, it can trap a lot of pathogens. Okay, or chemical contamination. All right, so that it is rendered inert as it passes through your digestive system.
Well, yeah,
so,
I mean, you find yourself in the emergency room with a drug overdose, and they're going to feed you activated charcoal.
Narcan and charcoal. Yep, absolutely. Yep. To suck that stuff up. So our stomachs are whether you believe in evolution or whether you believe in we're created that way, our stomach is literally designed to eat a bit of char. Okay, it's designed to eat some carbonized food. All right, not like blackened completely. Okay, but some char on it. Our stomach is actually meant to digest that.
Yeah, and I think the fact that God gave us stomachs before he gave us fire is a good argument for the evolutionary theory.
Yep. Yep. So
you like what I did there?
That's contrary though. So you were disproving evolution in that sense. But anyway, let me go get a cup of coffee. Okay, I'm at like 60% right now. I'll be right back.
Roger. Okay, so we're on to the next achievement in the tech tree, as it were, the big brain. More fuel, bigger brain, and now we get to go past organization, planning the hunt, the strategy, the tactic, how the takedown works. Now we're starting to develop language, right? We're really moving forward as a species into something really and truly resembling civilization, right? But that big brain, it also has an extremely high energy requirement. So maintaining that and being able to process, to use abstract thought, planning, imagination. We're talking about an organ that takes up 2% of your body mass, but consumes roughly 20% of your resting caloric requirement. And obviously, I don't know what everybody in the audience does. I know a few of you guys and the kind of work you do, so you might be able to relate to this personally. I've had a couple of different serious careers in my life. It's hard, it's exhausting. But I also spent a few years as a title examiner, working in real estate law, right? Where I would take farm out contracts from real estate attorneys to do the full title examination, study the chain of custody of a piece of property and who owned it at what point and whether or not they accrued any debts or liens that attached to the property rather than the property owner, et cetera, et cetera. When I used to do that, I would show up at the courthouse, before they opened. I'd be standing at the door with a cigarette and a cup of coffee 10 minutes before the courthouse doors opened for the first time for the day. And I would be one of the first people to go in through security and go bury myself in the basement in the records room in downtown Fulton County. And I would flip books and pages and make photocopies and send faxes and all that shit. And I tell you something, guys, that intellectual work, that brain work all day was at least as exhausting, this is even in my early 20s, as working in the paper mills. Right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you had, your early jobs, maybe working in food service or something, just on your feet, moving a lot, or construction, or hell, I was a farmhand for a while, throwing bales of hay on the back of a tractor, and that's hard work. Absolutely, work your muscles, you get physically exhausted. But if you've done that and then done some real brain work, it's hard to say. I can tell you this, when Mario and I would wake up and go run, 5, 6, 7 miles and then go and study Korean for, 5, 6 hours a day, maybe even go do some weightlifting calisthenics after class. You got the physical and the mental together. That caloric burn is unbelievable. The level of exhaustion that you can achieve is just amazing. And so, as we get to the big brain and we start to get more and more into being able to do abstract thought, not just I'm hungry, let's go find something and kill it, but you're actually, funnily enough, you're actually getting into the earliest forms of magic here. The idea that, I saw this mark on the ground, and then I caught a deer. And so that tells me that mark means there's deer. So if I draw this mark on the ground, that'll help me catch deer, right?
Yep.
It doesn't matter if that makes sense to our modern brains. That's the earliest kind of like hypothesizing abstract thought and using that to develop a better understanding of the world.
Correct. It's because the meat, within the meat, the zinc, iron, B12, protein, and cholesterol give the brain an excess of calories. Okay, a reserve of calories, right? Where basically the brain can think longer. Why do you think? You look at what animals in nature have learned, with the exception of a few, like elephants. Okay, animals in nature, what have larger brains? Predators or herbivores?
Predators, always.
Predators. Okay. The elephant is a rare exception. Okay. Elephants are.
It's hard to even say that the elephant is an exception because there's not a predator the same size.
That's true. Tyrannosaurus Rex, probably. Well, I don't know if Tyrannosaurus, because that's a lizard. That's a different family, phylum. Okay. But I do concur with what you were saying earlier while I was getting my coffee. Okay. Yeah, like physical labor will make you hungry. All right. But when it's purely physical labor, basically your body can start drawing upon the energy reserves within your fat cells. Okay. And they can go straight to the muscle because they're located right there with the muscle. Right.
Right.
However, when it's heavy intellectual work, when it's heavy brain work, okay, like trying to learn a foreign language, or just for example, in life, I've had many careers as well. In fact, I'm not really happy about that because I have to start over from ground zero like every freaking 7 years of my life. But, but a lot of that's because of my behaviors, right? But anyway, let's say I have a really call heavy day, okay, where I'm dealing with people with complex water chemistry problems. Okay, I actually have to think. I can't just draw upon basically the script kiddies that I have in the back of my head. All right, for stuff that I just hear all the time. I actually have to think, and you get hungrier. Okay. Furthermore, let's say I have poached eggs. Okay, poached eggs and like a breakfast meat. Okay, for breakfast. And then let's say I have a bowl of cereal for breakfast. Okay. The bowl of cereal, and let's, even if it's a job where I'm just basically sitting in a chair, answering phone, okay, writing emails and shit, okay, office stuff. By lunchtime, if I had that bowl of cereal, like I'm hungry, I'm uncomfortably hungry, right?
It wore off.
Yeah, and whereas if I had the eggs and bacon, I don't really need to eat. I don't need to eat lunch because I still have all that essential, all that nutrient dense food still in my bloodstream. Okay, whereas the sugar just kind of cooks off quick. So, yep. So yes,
yep.
I concur.
And so that brings us, once we've got language, art, we can give the humanities a lot of grief for all the liberal nonsense that's gotten in there. But the fact is, early art, cave painting and the like, that is the record. That is the documentation. That's, those are the how-to manuals. As primitive as it may seem, that's the how-to manual. Hey, we got a comment from Aaron. He says, "I want one of your steaks." LOL. Yeah, Aaron, you get your ass down here, and Mario and I'll take you over to the Sergeant Major's farm, and we'll throw some big old steaks on the raptor trap, and then smoke them there, and then sear them off on the Blackstone.
I'm afraid Aaron can't make it anymore. Okay, Aaron is about to become essentially the Thane of Oklahoma City. Okay, and he will always be a proud Okie from Muskogee. Okay, and he's not going to the Badlands of Central Georgia. Okay, not when he has a kingdom to run in his own backyard. But Aaron, if you do decide to come to Georgia, that That might be the rare thing that compels Mario to escape his Florida swamp habitat, okay, and maybe venture north for once.
So
I was
that
listening to.
brings us.
I was listening to. I don't know why. I was listening to. Was it Waylon Jennings who did "Okie from Muskogee"? Anyway, it was a great song. I was listening today. It just randomly came up on my feed, and I'm like, "That's Aaron's song. That's Aaron all the way." Yep.
So that brings us to the full journey, civilization. Okay. We've unlocked the full achievement tree here: meat, hunting, fire, cooking, big brain, civilization, right? And Aaron says he has to go to Muskogee tomorrow.
There you go.
But so the clear linear story, it becomes bushier and stranger in human history. We're going to get into that a little bit more in just a minute here. But there's lots of evidence to support what we've just explained. But it also raises some questions. Obviously, stone tools, fossils. Fossils tell us who was where. And we can extrapolate a lot about how regional diets have affected cultural development
and physical development
and physiological development.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason there are only 3 prime phenotypes, right? Caucasoid, Negroid, and Mongoloid. There are only 3 prime musculoskeletal phenotypes.
By the way, YouTube, those are actual scientific terms. Okay, so settle down. All right. And since we're stuck,
Mario, I had to try and explain that to this woman in a college class. She was teaching introduction to pedagogy. Right. It was I needed an elective that semester, and the only electives available were grievance studies, rat history, women's studies, LGBT, dance theory, right? That was all that was left that would fit in my schedule, except for basically teaching 101, educators 101, introduction to pedagogy. So I said, well, okay, fine, I'll take that. Cool. I'm planning on homeschooling my kids anyway. Maybe I'll learn something useful in there. To no one's shock, I learned nothing useful in there. But she was talking about something with evidence chains and all this stuff, and how racist these procedural cop dramas are, because they tell people the super racist lie that you can tell what race a person is by examining their skeletal structure.
It's actually quite the fucking opposite. Okay, the actual producer of the television show Cops intentionally would basically make sure that it was like 60% white, like meth heads and whatever. Okay,
right.
In any given episode, and not all exclusively just the just the blacks. Okay, and he said he did that intentionally to not give a negative impression. So actually,
yep,
you're dead fucking wrong, bitch. Okay.
I sat there and explained to her the actual like forensic science of musculoskeletal phenotypes, and there really are only 3 primary musculoskeletal phenotypes. Now, there are variations in those 3 phenotypes that can narrow it down from Asia, Europe, and Africa to specific countries, and sometimes the skeletal examination can even narrow you down to a specific like village origin.
Yeah.
But of course, even if you can guarantee the genetic and ethnic makeup of the cadaver based on an examination of the skeletal phenotype, that doesn't guarantee that they stayed in that place. It just guarantees that they came from that place.
Yes, that is correct. There is, in fact, it shouldn't be controversial. Okay, but like yes, much of the same way that much to the woe and dismay of the LGBT crowd. Okay, you can look at a skeleton and you can tell if it is male or female. Okay, it is there are differences that are irrefutable. Okay. Additionally, you can look at the skull of a Caucasian, a Mongoloid, or a Negroid, and there are clear indicators in that skull that they are from one race or the other. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Nature is racist. Okay. Accept it.
Yeah, but so is math. What can you do?
I shouldn't say racist. Okay. Nature is specialized. Okay. And you can't change
Correct. Oh, so first let's talk about the out of Africa model, right? This is what we were taught in public schools. Um, it's not taught anymore because they're not teaching your children anything anymore. But until the early 2000s, the out of Africa theory was pretty much the leading predominant theory that was taught to children in school as far as how evolution worked. Basically, it was there were some monkeys in the desert, and then they found jungles, and then they turned into all of the people in the world and somehow spread out across the planet. It
it.
had something to do with
Specifically, they narrowed it down to the Great Horn of Africa. Okay, which
right.
is East Africa. So, according to consensus science from a few decades prior, okay, we was Somalis and Shiite. Okay, we.
Yeah.
well, I thought it was funny. Screw you, Aaron. Okay. Anyway, so
Aaron, the skeletal structure does not determine skin color, although it is an indicator.
Yep.
It is an indicator that can present at least a kind of spectra of skin colors. So you're there's a certain kind of skull that's going to be mostly white to kind of olive. Then there's a kind of more sloped skull pattern that's going to give you something a little more in the yellow to orange range. And then, of course, you've got
and then there's people like Siver, who's like a scale 1 on the Ferguson scale, okay, whose skin starts smoldering in direct sunlight, and he screeches like a Morlock digging for his caves, okay.
But that was the theory as it was taught back then. But
can I say one more
same
thing?
thing.
One more thing, Aaron. Body cams show otherwise. It's not all of them, but it's always them. Yeah, Aaron, you are correct, and that is the gift that keeps on giving. Okay, to from your standard traditional conservative, okay, to the far right, okay. The insistence and the insistence on body cams, all right, on all police after the events of 2020, right? That was the worst media blunder the left ever committed, okay, or black people in general ever committed.
Yes,
because now everyone can see it. The absolute primal, like zero prefrontal cortex, zero impulse control madness. All right, that is the bottom 40 percentile of African America. So, trying to keep it tame here. All right, we're on YouTube. I wanted to say after civilization comes next usury, but I guess we can't do that.
Oh no, that's fair. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute.
But anyway, the more recent scholarship on this, okay, has determined that the Homo sapiens, okay, your ancient humans, more likely originated in the Caucasus Mountains, okay, so in basically in Central Asia, right? Central Asia and the Caucasus Mountain regions around the Black Sea. That is where some of the oldest historical and genetic record is coming from. Also, historic civilizational records that predate anything that we were even aware of. Okay, like advanced architecture dating back to say more than 6,000 years, dating back to like 10,000 years. Okay, literally blowing the minds. It is looking more like the sub-Saharan African. Uh, his origin kind of matches Noah's son Ham when he was cast away, when he was banished. Okay, it's like they were a lost, cursed link of humanity, right? And then with a desertification of the Saharan desert, they were effectively locked there for all time until we foolishly, um, you know, foolishly through either colonialism or the white man's burden, right? Decided to rediscover these sub-Saharan peoples. But yeah, there is at a minimum 10,000 years of human development difference between the sub-Saharan African and the rest of the planet. They are a people locked away in a time capsule and left there forever until very recent in the geologic record. Okay, so tune in next time for academic racism with Mario.
Well, something else that's always kind of bothered me about the original out of Africa theory, like, oh yeah, humans sprang up first in the Horn of Africa, and then they just spread across the continents, spread all over the world. Like, oh, hold on a minute. If Pangea broke apart and separated the continents more than 100 million years ago, but the first rising hominins are, say, 6-7 million years ago, there's a huge gulf there where they could not have spread around, right? And so you're trying, you want me to take for rote that the earliest Homo erectus, etc., the various hominins began to develop something like 2.5 million years ago, and they were seafaring?
If I knew we were going to talk about this, I would have kind of like revisited the research that I've read on this. Okay, but the Bronze Age collapse is real, and the historical record kind of really underplays what it really was. Okay, there was a complete loss of civilization. Okay, that occurred around 6,000 BC, between 10,000 to 6,000 BC. All right. That was a result of like an actual climactic climate change. All right, that flooded half the planet and basically unlocked the other half. All right, that might be the actual Pangea. Okay, I'm not 100% convinced on radiocarbon dating. All right, to be honest, call me a Luddite, but yeah, I think civilization existed before, as advanced, if not more advanced than we are today, and it was completely destroyed. And I think that's the story from the Bible. I think it was real.
Okay. Yeah, so let's. Yeah, I don't have anything to say against that or to support it, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on. This thing, culture changes the environment, selection answers back. So one of the I'm sure you guys remember this one. Milk is white supremacy.
Based.
Because everybody drinking milk is white supremacy because everybody else is allergic to milk, is lactose intolerant. And that is actually true. Blacks and Asians have a much higher incidence of lactose intolerance than white people do. Well, it's because white people developed agriculture in a more substantial way.
Animal husbandry is what we
exactly.
Okay.
Right. Obviously, the Chinese got into rice farming pretty early on, but Chinese diets even today are more vegetable than meat. The same is true across most of the world outside of predominantly white regions. Animal husbandry is very much a Western, a Western European phenomenon. That's not to say it doesn't exist in other places, but it is not nearly as developed or predominant.
It was in the it was our ancient Aryan ancestors. Okay, call them Scythians, call them the people who predated the Scythians. Okay, who were the first to discover horseback. Okay, first to learn horseback, right, and therefore were the first to be able to capture, okay, to subdue, to eventually tame the auroch, okay, and then through selective breeding, and which is what animal husbandry is, okay, create the modern strains of cow that we have today. All right, their societies were based around the herding of cows. All right, that was their currency, that was their culture, and that was the source of their food. Okay, so when we talk about steak and when we talk about like state created civilization, right? Yes, it was largely the Scythians, all right, who had a heavy beef and heavy dairy diet. That's where we get our lactose tolerance from, due to our ancient connection to these Yamanaya, okay, Yamanaya haplogroup strains, okay, from that region, and that's why we can drink milk into adulthood. Okay, as opposed to most humans, either like Africans, Asians, they can drink milk in their childhood, but they lose the ability to drink it afterwards. Okay. Another issue with the milk, honestly, is the pasteurization process eliminates the natural enzymes that are in the milk that actually assist your body in digesting it. Okay, so even for white people, as adults, drinking milk, okay, can give you a little bit of gastric, not distress, but some bowel movement issues. Okay, simply because it doesn't have the enzymes that are supposed to come with it that the baby cow would obviously need in the milk to digest the mother's milk. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all eaten a pound of cheddar because we weren't paying attention with that one apple pie.
Cheese is fermented. Cheese is fermented. That's a little different. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why the Italians are actually have much more lactose intolerance. Okay. Southern Europeans are much more lactose intolerant than even Northern Europeans. So there is differentiation even amongst the European peoples. Okay. And it is because the Mediterraneans, they perfected fermentation. Okay, for the ancient Aryan ancestors, their form of fermentation was the crafting of what is called kefir, which is a delicious drink. Okay, which is kind of somewhere between.
The yogurt.
It's like yogurt that has the It's like a milkshake. Okay, that has kind of a sour cream flavor.
Yeah.
All right, really good. And the way that they would make that is they would one of what they would use for vessels. Okay. To transport liquids was like animal stomachs. You know what I mean? So cow stomachs, cow bladders, all right, stuff like that were their travel packs, were their canteens, if you will. And they discovered that if you filled up a stomach, okay, a preserved stomach or a preserved bladder, okay, with the milk, and then rode throughout the day. They didn't know what it was called, but it's an enzyme called rennet. All right, that's in the cell walls of these organs that would actually slowly start to ferment the milk. Okay, turning it into a cheese essentially, right? In that case, it was called kefir. Highly recommend that stuff. It literally is like it's like mana for white people. If you drink kefir and your stomach is clean, like it has not been poisoned with alcohol, okay, you'll feel really good after you drink it. Okay, really antioxidant, like teeming with antioxidants. Okay, very very good for you. Okay, you need to start eating like your race and your blood type compel you to. Okay. Because there's differentiation in the blood types, okay, of what type of diet that you ought to eat. The reason I'm fat is because I eat a lot of sugar. Now, mostly that sugar is coming from the my body converting alcohol into glucose. Okay, but I'm O positive. Okay, the original hunter. I'm supposed to be eating a diet that is predominantly meat. Okay, but I'm not, and that's why I'm fat. My brother's the same way. My brother's O negative, so it's even more pronounced in him. Like he'll have like panic attacks, or he'll start to get fucking crazy if he doesn't get the requisite amount of protein by a certain hour in the day. Okay, he's like a fucking Mowgli and turning into a gremlin. Okay, because motherfucker couldn't get a meal. Um, but yeah, look into it. Look into it. Your blood type, and your race. It really points you as to what the ideal diet is for you. All right. Don't listen to the experts. Okay, experts say the studies
Yeah,
suggest.
the experts told you to stay home, social distance, and wear 4 masks.
Chris, we're 45 years old. Okay, haven't we been told that eggs are good for us, eggs are bad for us, eggs are good for us, eggs are bad for us, at least on 4 different cycles in our 45 years of existence? Okay,
Oh yeah,
exactly. Okay, you know what? In light of in light of Anthony Fauci's recent non-testimony before Congress, okay, you know, I dare say, fuck the science.
I don't know. He's kind of wrinkly. He's not really my type. Oh,
I bet Fetterman. I'm going to send in Fetterman on that. Okay, go ahead and wear out them holes, Fetterman. Okay, go in there like Uncle Fester and Molester. Okay, to your heart's content. Go in there like. Shit got dark, man. Chris saved me. Pull me back, bro. Hold me back.
So there's 2 primary toolkits, and Mario, while I was doing the research and developing this this slide presentation for tonight's deep dive, I was thinking about some of the things on this slide, like hypervigilance, threat detection, rapid response, escape evasion, coalition alarm from prey mode. Obviously, as humans, we switch strategies because we haven't always been at the top of the food chain in any given region that we're in. You might be out hunting deer and there are bears.
We literally have a switch, okay, in our brain.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not trying to like you're just posting slides where I happen to know like exactly what this is, okay. There is a switch within the amygdala, okay, which is called the parasympathetic system, okay. This is
Correct.
more commonly referred to as the fight or flight syndrome, okay. It's the same thing. Your brain, okay, your prefrontal cortex is able to observe information, observe stimuli, and within a split second decide if we're going to fight or if we're going to run like fucking hell, okay. And that's exactly what it is.
And there's an interesting thing. Oh, I didn't mean to go to the next slide yet. This is a little off topic, but you mentioned fight or flight, and obviously, yes, this is what we're talking about. Fight or flight. Humans have the fight or flight. Every beastie does.
Yeah.
Humans have it in such a way that we can train on it.
Correct.
We understand it well enough to train on it. But here's the thing. It's not fight or flight. It's actually a 3-way switch.
Ooh.
It's fight, flight, or freeze.
Okay.
And an untrained human, the freeze mechanic, it's not really a third mode as sort of a cyclic redundancy error where the switch fails to flip.
Well, it's the circuit. The circuit's blown. Okay, like
Right.
like you said, that you can train towards it. Okay, that's what pretty much. If you join the armed services, okay, particularly if you're in a combat arms position, right? They're going to train that fucking freeze right out of you, or they're going to do the best they can, because that's what gets you killed. All right. Better return fire, okay, with everything you got. All right, advance on the enemy, close the distance, kill them, okay, be a warrior, okay, or get the fuck out of there right away. All right.
Yeah.
Do not freeze. Freeze is not how you get dead. It's how you get your fucking battle buddies dead because you froze.
Correct. Yeah, I remember when the Bravo Company drill sergeants spent a month hiding dummy IEDs around campus for us to stumble across.
Mhm. That was funny.
Yeah, that'll get your attention. That'll get you over that freeze instinct. I've been thinking about doing that to my kids.
Yeah, I remember being in the behind Bravo Company, right? And Sunnydale would open the window and just scream out, "Romano, you're dead!" I'm like, "What happened, drill sergeant?" He's like, you know me. I'm thinking like, "Oh shit, motherfucker just walked in my room. My shit's all fucked up. I now I'm fucked up again. Fucked up. Never getting out of this bitch, right?" And he's like, "Look to your left underneath that log." And I'm like, see some like dummy fucking grenade fucking contraption thing. I'm like, "God damn it, man!" Like,
Yep.
I got drill sergeant. Okay,
I got.
got.
Mario, I haven't told this story on air in a while. You just reminded me of it with Sunnydale and the logs and the window.
Yeah.
My dad and our buddy Cade came to visit us one time, and guys, this was a U.S. Army TRADOC installation. Civilians don't come visit soldiers in TRADOC and just get to come into the barracks and hang out. But Dad,
unless you're friends with an active duty sergeant major, then you can.
Right, well, at the time he was an active duty sergeant major in TRADOC. He was the big dick on campus in TRADOC. I actually got pulled aside and yelled at because Dad came to visit and I didn't tell anybody he was coming.
Yep.
I didn't know.
I didn't. I had the same thing.
Occurred to me.
I had the same thing.
But apparently, there was supposed to be like an honor guard to meet him at the gate, and they were supposed to put aside special accommodations and quarters for him, and all this like foreign dignitary level shit. And I had no idea about that at the time. But
it was even worse for me because my dad was an active duty 06. Okay, and I got company. That fucking Irish lunatic, okay, who was like PTSD to fuck to hell and back,
Captain Fergal J. O'Reilly, U.S. Army Infantry Commanding.
Captain O'Reilly, fucking Romano, I cannot believe you've got full birds walking into my barracks without me knowing. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know. I didn't know. He's like, yeah. But
yeah.
Literally, I went for 6 months without calling my mom. Okay.
I remember
living in the barracks, right? And my dad would happen to be on the West Coast for some Navy function, and he decided to just drop in. I mean, what's he go up to the gate? He's in fucking uniform. He's an 06, which is like, for people who don't have any military background, that's like one rank below a general, okay? Or getting into the general grades, okay, of officer. So yeah, you could just drive right on post. Went up to the barracks and walked right in. And then the guy who was on CQ duty, charge of quarters, about damn shit himself, rocketing up out of his chair and saluting his fat. Not what you expected to see in a TRADOC barracks.
Nope. Well, so anyway, that one, my dad shows up with our civilian buddy Cade, and they just walk in, and drill sergeants escorted back to my barracks room, and Mario, you and your platoon were getting smoked, and y'all were right outside my window, and Dad went over and split the blinds open, and he was looking out, kind of laughing as he was watching y'all get the shit smoked out of you. And Cade walks over to split the blinds and take a look and see what the old man's looking at. And Dad put his hand up and grabbed Cade's hand and pushed it down. He said, "No, son, this isn't for you." This is not for you. Mm. So, yeah, so anyway, before we go to the next slide, as I was putting this one together, Mario, and thinking about hypervigilance and all that stuff, I added another one to the deep dive arsenal that we need to develop for the future. There are symptoms of PTSD, hypervigilance being one of them, that I believe can be cultivated as superpowers. You understand what I'm getting at? Did you just walk away from the microphone? Damn it, Mario. You walked away when you could have been useful. All right. So, anyway, so I put a note in the deep dive arsenal to develop that one. So that'll be another deep dive in the future. Yes, Mario, weaponized autism. So there are several symptoms of PTSD. The one that comes to mind most readily is hypervigilance. But that, it can be kind of like a superpower. And so we'll develop that one as its own deep dive and talk about those attributes. So, that's an ugly ass slide. Hold on a second, guys. There. Fixed it. From campfire to conversation, the hearth is a social engine. So basically, like we covered this a little bit earlier. The fire, the advent of the fire. You have people gathering. You have people telling stories. You have the early development of language, and that's key. Not only for the fact that now you've got information living outside of the brain, you're able to save essentially lessons learned. Oh, I screwed up today, man. That I got too close and the rhino heard me coming and he bolted. Oh, so now I know. I've just learned about coming at them from downwind, so they don't smell me coming or whatever. And you start to collect this knowledge and explain it to people, and then eventually you're saying, okay, my dad's dad said that if you hunt this way, your hunts will be easier and more productive, and you'll do better. And that is, as Mario said in the chat, that is the beginning and development of culture. And yes, that's the next piece. Now that you're able to more efficiently acquire food and more efficiently store and consume food, you start to get leisure time. Not a lot. I mean, again, like we said, hunts take days. So it's not like you're going out hunting and coming back at the end of the day and just hanging out for 5 or 6 hours before bedtime. It's not a 9-to-5 job. But, your hunting party might go out for a day or 2 or 3 days and come back and not need to go hunting again for several days because you bring down 200 pounds of meat for a tribe of a dozen people, and you can get by for a little while on that before you have to go hunt again. And now you've got leisure time, and you've got the actual opportunity to develop, to tell the women about how awesome you did in hunting, to brag about your accomplishments, and for those to turn into stories and legends that develop over time and get exaggerated and eventually become just, the moral of this story is, don't cross the river at the broken tree because there's a nest of snakes there. And it doesn't matter if the nest of snakes is still there 50 years later. The story tells you it is, and you maybe that affects the way that your whole world is shaped for a while. So we get to that's just more summary. Grain built the state. This is what Mario was talking about earlier. He was broadly correct. The actual building and development of civilization, as we think about it, cities and settlements and actual like stationary, static, developed architecture, and that kind of eventually you have government seated in bureaucracy, etc. What Mario was describing at the very beginning of the episode, when I said basically, sort of, but it's the incomplete story. Everything else we've been talking about this evening brings us up to the point where grain built the state.
Because the state requires plebs, okay? And the plebs are fed the grain. So
that's part of it. But no, more importantly, Mario, the state requires something it can count.
To tax. Correct. You can't.
Correct.
It's hard to tax. You can't tax something that spoils. Okay.
Well, you can, but only if you can rely on that spoilage being chronologically predictable.
Right.
See, when you're talking about straight hunters grabbing meat, they're going to go hunt, get what they can get, eat off that until they start to get low but haven't run out, and go hunt again. And that cycle is dependent on the appetites of the group and several other factors. And so it's not a specific cyclical plant, sow, reap, harvest cycle. Once you get something where you have a stable location, you know where the food is going to be,
yep.
You know when it is going to become available.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have the mechanisms in place to start crafting bureaucratic entanglement.
So yeah, we're not trying to rag on grain production here. Okay, that's an essential piece as well. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Because what else? I mean, agriculture. That's the beginning of science, honestly. Okay. Because if you're doing large scale agriculture, Chris, what are you gonna need to invent pretty quick?
Irrigation,
a calendar,
fertilizer,
calendar. You need to
yes.
you need to be able to predict the seasons. You need to time the seasons. You need to know how many days roughly. Okay. So yeah, and with a calendar, what does that lead to, Chris? What does the calendar actually provides a metric to something that humanity has been doing since before any of all of this. Okay, which is looking at the stars. Now that you've got essentially the concept of time, now you can keep track of the stars. Now you can develop astrology. Okay, so both agriculture and animal husbandry are essential. And the greatest civilizations were the ones that basically were masters of both in abundance.
Yes. So when food becomes legible, right? Now you've got grain stores. Mm-hmm. You've got long-term storage of food, right? Now prior to this, of course, dried meats, preserved meats, those are a thing, but they're a thing eventually. All the hunting culture that we were talking about earlier is largely nomadic.
Yep. And right? Does meat come in individual units that are easily categorized, okay, and that are of similar size and shape? No.
Okay? Meat, it has to be cut to that.
Meat is much more difficult to store, all right, to preserve, right? Because we're talking like they could dry the meat, okay, but they hadn't mastered curing meat yet, okay, because they didn't have reliable access to salt, all right. Unless they were like the sea people living in the Mediterranean, okay, who had already figured out that, hey, you can take the water out of the ocean and let it sit here in a tray and wait till it evaporates, and then you can collect the salt, right? That was really advanced technology way back then. Okay, so the wheat's got to be cut. The meat would have to be, even if it was preserved, the meat has to be cut up. And what does that require?
Stone tools.
System of weights and measures. It requires scales.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Whereas with wheat, there isn't that much variance from one grain to another. You know what I mean? So it's much easy. It's easier to count. Okay. Easier to record, easier to create basically standardized weights and measures for the storage and taxation. Okay. Of grain.
Yep. And just right there on the slide, records make taxation possible.
And records require written language. So So yes, with grain agriculture, okay, necessitates a written language.
And the earliest, that earliest written language could be as simple as, a clay tablet with a rough sketch of a sheaf of wheat at the top of it,
Yep.
followed
And
by
number.
tally marks.
Yep, numbers. So numbers would be the very first written record, okay, even if it was something as simple as a tally system, okay, and then you get hieroglyphics with that, and it'll be a hieroglyph representing what it is, okay. So yes, agriculture gave birth to literacy.
So
as a side effect, okay, of
right.
writing.
So this statement, food freedom is freedom.
What about African Americans who suffer from food insecurity because they live in food deserts, Chris?
Well, they should move.
No, they shouldn't. They need to stay there.
No, they shouldn't.
That's what happened to Conyers. Your homelands were befouled, okay, by the ever present and inexorable Atlantic creep.
The creep.
Sorry.
Gotta
work. This is YouTube. So, I get the racism in wherever I can. Okay.
I appreciate it. That's mighty white of you. So, I just lost my train of thought. Hang on, let me try to get back on point. Okay,
food freedom is freedom.
The fact is, nutrition, like it says on the side, nutrition still shapes development and cognition. Years ago, mid-90s, when I was a teenager, the church I went to, the youth group, you've heard, I'm sure I've told you about this before, Mario. We got involved with a charity group called the Heifer Project. And the idea was this: we would raise money and use that money to hire a couple of competent farmers and livestock rancher types who could go to this starving village in Africa, supplied with all of the correct, the regionally correctly selected grains and seeds and planting materia, plus whatever, basically, and a handful of heifers, of cattle, a bull, and a shitload of chickens and rabbits.
Yep.
And they were sent over there to say, okay, here's the starting point. You've got everything here that you need to become self-sustaining. If you follow the instructions, learn the lessons, and do what we've taught you here, then you'll have calves every year. You'll have chickens and rabbits. You'll have eggs in perpetuity. You'll have these grains, these fruits and vegetables, and all you have to do is manage it and maintain it according to the lessons you've been taught. And what do you think happened?
Oh, the same thing that has been described in countless stories of U.S. aid workers, okay, or of missionary groups that I've read over the, over the past 20 years on 4chan, okay? It's quite simple what they do. They have no future-oriented thinking, okay? You can give them all of this, and what they're going to do is they're going to just say, nah, we want it right now. And they're going to have basically barbecue after feast after feast after feast, where they will consume all of the animals you gave them, okay? And they'll just eat and fuck, eat and fuck, eat and fuck, night after night after night. And then when it's all done, they'll have nothing to eat, and you've doubled their population. So
Yep.
it doesn't work. You cannot force.
Within 1 year, within 1 year, they had consumed all the livestock.
Yep. You cannot force civilization on people. You can't force it.
Right. You can't cure poverty with money.
Nope. And you can
give people money and make them not poor.
You can force compliance through slavery, but you cannot force civilization on a people. This is the I mean, this is a fundamental lesson that we repeatedly choose to forget. Okay, and by we, I mean the people who are in charge of writing our history books or in charge of essentially establishing what our foreign policy is. Okay, in the form of aid. Okay, but yeah, you can't force it on people. This is a lesson from Iraq. This is a lesson from Afghanistan. You cannot force civilization on a people who either don't want it or aren't capable of it because they haven't met the prerequisite tech tree advances, okay, to be able to utilize it. And by tech tree, I mean social tree as well. Civilizational tree.
Right. So, here we go. Those cultures which developed along the equator, having higher exposure to predators and diets higher in non-protein sources, right? They're eating fruits and
it's because the growth cycle isn't the growth cycle is not seasonal. Okay, the trees are always bearing fruit. Okay, you can go out it's been by U.S. aid workers. Okay, who I've read the accounts of. They described like equatorial Africa. If you're not in the Sahel or like the desert, okay, but like actual equatorial Africa is basically like the Garden of Eden. If you need food, you can just go out and get it. Okay, there is fruit readily available in the trees. There is bushmeat readily available that you can hunt with like spears and simple tools. Okay, you don't have to measure hard things carefully. Okay, because you have an abundance. And that works for them in that environment. But if you remove them from that environment, okay, it's an absolute disaster. And if you try to impose if you try to impose the lessons of like those 6 stages of culinary anthropology, okay, that you went over in the first half of this presentation, it's also a fucking disaster, okay? Because they're gonna forget basically the hunter-gatherer skills that they had. Okay, and then you've got the worst case scenario. You've got low IQ people who aren't capable of long-term future-oriented thinking, who have also forgotten what limited technology they have, which is about resource extraction right now for our survival right now. Okay.
Yeah. Reality does not care about your talking points. As I was putting this together, of course, ChatGPT tried to make the argument. Well, race isn't the only determining factor in intelligence quotient or IQ tests are racist. There's all these other factors available food, this and that. That's it. Yes, but
yeah,
the funny story is that all of those confounding and complicating factors are also regionally collected. It may be that the color of your skin is not the thing that determines why your IQ is low. It's a myriad of other factors, but the fact is that skin color is an attribute that you share with every other person who is the product of those myriad compounding, complicating factors. You have a shared background.
Yeah, it's like
part of it is genetic. Part of it is genetic. Part of it is socioeconomic. Part of it is cultural.
It's like in military intelligence. A single source of intelligence is not a combined fused product. Okay. However, a single source of intelligence, a single source of intelligence is also not something that can be ignored. Okay. Everything is part of a holistic picture. Okay.
So all of those various complicating factors, type of nutrition, which types of disease and parasites you develop immunities and which ones wipe people out, the differences in climate that affect food systems, education, which practically doesn't exist in places where the language doesn't include a future tense, institutions, again, almost absent from that original Horn of Africa derivation point. Agriculture, again, sparse through that region. The technology, again, developed in places where the need to preserve food and prepare for the coming winter, and to lay aside something, to learn the skill of delayed gratification. You don't develop substantial technology if you can't delay gratification. If you have an extremely high time preference, everything must happen now.
Yep.
Well, and you cannot undertake great developslevels.
Mm-hmm.
So the meat built the brain.
Oh no! Back up a slide. Back up a slide. We're going to do an example for the audience. Okay, I'll go first. I'm going to go down this. I'm going to go down this chart of the confounding cluster. Okay, all right. I'm going to do sub-Saharan Africa first. Okay, so let's go here. Nutrition.
Okay.
All right. Nutrition is going to be basically game meat. All right, and basically collecting hunter-gatherer. Okay, hunter-gatherer and limited hunting. All right, so game meat and basically the spoils of the earth, which are readily available. Disease parasites. Okay, the African sleeping sickness, which comes from the tsetse fly, and malaria. All right. The sickle cell disorder is actually not a. It's actually a evolutionary advance. Okay, or an adaptation for sub-Saharan African populations because it makes them immune to malaria, but it also weakens their metabolism and it weakens their ability for aerobic activity. Okay, climate, a lack of seasons. Okay, year-round, temperamental or hot weather. Food system. Food system is based on hunter-gathering. Okay, so basically you're eating essentially what you caught that day or in the last few days. Okay, there is no logistics. Okay, everything's on essentially a 72-hour cycle. Education, effectively non-existent. Okay, save for hunting tips and tricks and foraging tips and tricks. Okay, that are taught to the young from the elderly. All right, so very primitive. Institutions, chief and witch doctor. Okay, so a chief and a sorcerer. All right, those are your institutions. It is a strongman rule. All right, or a respected elder rule. There are not layered institutions. Okay, that stratify authority. Agriculture, effectively non-existent. Technology, effectively Stone Age tier technology. Okay, the most advanced thing they would have would be basically a bow and arrow where the where the string of the bow would be basically wound entrails from animals. All right, so that would be sub-Saharan Africa. All right, Chris. Now pick another one. Pick any other group and do them.
Let's go to let's go to
Easy mode would be Aboriginals of Australia. Or it's even worse than Africa. Where
ouch.
the height of Aboriginal technology. You know the band. You know the band Three Dog Night, right?
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Yeah. The Jungle Boogie. Jungle. Yeah. Right. That's a weird name for a band. Do you know what Three Dog Night means?
No.
Okay, it was a primitive heating system. Okay, of the Aboriginal peoples because they did not have permanent structures. They were always just wandering and they would sleep on the ground and kind of huddle together, right? So, one of the things that they would do to keep themselves warm would be to, if it was cold, would be to kill a dog and everybody piled around like the carcass of the dead dog, okay? Because it was still warm. A three dog night would be a coldest night where you would kill three dogs so that people could huddle together with the extra warmth of three dead dogs.
Jesus.
That's Aboriginal technology, okay? it's not it's not politically correct, not in the slightest, but there is actually like anthropological evidence that the Aboriginal is in fact not human. They're like a separate hominid, okay?
Wow.
There you go. Three dog night. You all learned something.
All right. Well, uh excuse me. So yeah, the meat built the brain built the plan, grain built the state. Right? You can so if you can understand that chain, you can protect the future. Go ahead and bring your camera back up there, Mario. Where did I go? There I is. Oh, brother, I had fun doing this one. I really did.
Well, good.
And this is I mean, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I love steak.
Kenneth just showed up. Kenneth, what happened, bro? Where were you?
Yeah, we missed you, brother.
Yeah.
We appreciate you popping in, though.
Yeah, this is one of the short ones, man. You blew
No,
it.
not that, I mean, 2 hours, not that short, but
That's
not. It's certainly not the hero's journey.
It's fine.
The hero's journey was, in fact, an epic length episode.
You know. Basically, there is some freedom in being thrown out of the cool kids club. Okay, if you want to go for 2 hours, you can go for 2 hours because you don't have the rumble foreman. Okay, cracking that whip behind your back. Like, nah, boy. Who that nigga on that nag? Who that nigga on that nag?
Tomorrow. So hopefully they'll let us back in the program next month, and we can get back to building the show. So, but that's the show for tonight. You gonna close out on a song, Mario?
I would. I'd also like to say that, basically, guys, been through some pretty traumatic stuff in my personal life. Don't worry about me. I'm physically fine. I'm not homeless. Okay, I'm beginning to repair my finances for the first time after after 5 years. All right, of total wipeout due to basically a woman who I loved, but she destroyed me, and now I'm recovering. Okay, so if you're wondering what's been going on with Mario the last few months, that's basically what it's been. Just the dealing with that and dealing with an increased workload has kind of taken a toll on me, and I just don't want to do any more work. Okay, and doing my little signature PowerPoint slides where I fucking go on and on and on for 3 hours, right? That's actually work. Okay. And I'm a fucking Luddite. I don't have an AI helper. So I know Chris is trying to reform me. Okay. Chris, Chris is trying. Chris is trying to bring me into the workshop and show me the benefits, okay, of the automatic loom, okay. But I'm resistant, okay. I don't like it. But
But
yeah,
I
I'll get
want to
there.
keep my thimbles.
But yeah, all right. So that's what's been going on with me lately. But I'm okay. I'll recover, and yep. That's just what it is. So one day we're gonna get back to where it was, where these deep dives, where I would present you deep dives that were like kind of a raucous affair. Okay, going into the real conspiracies, going into the basically you know who. Okay, the Olsenites. We'll put it at that. If you're a longtime listener, you know who I'm talking about. All right. But we will get back to that one day. Okay. Just be patient with me. I am your imperfect servant. Okay. So, Chris, go ahead.
All right. This one, I figured since what we were talking about tonight was big brain stuff, here's a big brain song for you. You ready for this one, Mario?
I am.
Got a little Descartes for you.
French philosophers are queer.
Oh yeah, and totally plagiarized Aquinas, but the song rocks.
The senses lie, the world may fade, dissolve, deceive. Dream upon dream, shadow upon form.
Is that Robespierre?
What once seemed sure now
It's generic
bends
French man.
and breaks. The ground gives way beneath my feet. The stars may fall, the body fail, but doubt itself still speaks. I strip the world to thought alone, cast off the false, the borrowed known. If all is down and all unsure, this single truth must still endure. For even doubt requires a mind, a voice that question seeks defines. I think, and in that thought I stand. I doubt, yet still I am. Let sense betray and forms depart. This truth is carved within the heart. I think, therefore I am. Let demons twist the laws of sight. Let reason tremble in the night. Still something thinks, still something is. No grand design, no flesh, no name. Just consciousness that lights the flame. I think and cannot be undone. I doubt, yet proof has won. From nothing sure one truth began. I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. From thought, the self, from self, the soul, from reason spark the ordered whole. Let certainty be built from this, a single unassailable premise. I think, and thus I stand. I am before all land. Let heaven shake, let shadows roam. The thinking mind is solid stone. I think, therefore I am. From doubt to truth, from mind to flame, the world rebuilt from thought and name. Thought to truth.
I like it. Here, let me tell you what I think about that. That's I thought you've tapped in. You've barely tapped into it, okay, but you have discovered something there, okay. Um, do some. Yeah, we need more. Basically, where it's like Andrew Lloyd Webber style rock orchestra, okay, with Freddie Mercury style vocals, okay, dude, that's like a fucking gold mine. All right, that's a gold mine. You could do so much with that. You could do so much, basically, with whatever prompt you use there, with just some minor tweaking.
We could talk about that a little more off air.
Cause, dude, me, I'm not a theater or drama fag, okay? But like rock opera, that's my fucking shit, dude.
Dude,
that is my shit.
I've been thinking about this lately. No shit, I could write a whole rock opera, dude. Between ChatGPT and Suno, right? Without the video, just the music. I could do a whole rock opera, like solid 2 hours of music with a clean thematic and story driving through it, like Tommy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Pinball Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
I could create something like that. Just the music, like I said. I could do it in 1 hour and have it done. If I spent 6 hours on it, it would be good. It would be excellent. I could probably make it good in 2 hours, maybe 3. In 6 hours or a whole day, it would be outstanding.
I freaking I love here, since we're after hours and we're just fucking geeking out here.
Yeah, let's do it.
My favorite musical, huge Andrew Lloyd Webber fan. Okay, if it weren't for Andrew Lloyd Webber, I probably wouldn't have any interest in theater at all. Okay, because he was a modernist. Okay, like he was the perfect composer, right, and screenwriter for the 20th century, right. Jesus Christ Superstar is my, and it's not it's not just because I'm Christian Catholic. Okay, I think it's like the finest rock opera of all time. All right. Joseph and the Technicolor Coat is also good, but nothing comes close to Jesus Christ Superstar. Second to it would probably be the Phantom of the Opera. Okay, particularly several musical movements. Okay, within Phantom of the Opera are bring a tear to your eye to this day. Okay, you can't help but not feel some emotive quality to it. All right, but
I've done Phantom on stage a few times.
Yeah, I've done excerpts from Jesus Christ Superstar. Okay, just in high school theater, right? Mm-hmm. With very limited production value, of course. All right, but yeah, the scene in particular, the Garden of Gethsemane. Like, will you pray with me, Peter, Paul, and John? And then the Pontius Pilate scene, okay, where, I wash my hands of your great destruction. Die if you want, you innocent puppet. Like those sequences, and then like Herod's song, okay, just for basically a like a ragtime number. Like it's unreal. It's unreal. Like the quality shines through. All right. It's a fucking dead medium, of course, unfortunately. Okay, because the leveling process has ruined everything to essentially the lowest common denominator, which is black culture. Okay, so that's the only thing you get now through the mainstream media is basically degenerate black culture.
I'm glad you mentioned that. You have not been on the show. You've been on the show, I think, once or twice since this came up in conversation on the show previously. Are you tracking on this? Okay, USAID is closed, is gone.
Yeah.
And by a completely unrelated coincidence, for the first time in 30 years, there are no rap songs on the Billboard Top 100.
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
So it very well may be that just like with the advent of what's called modern art, like your Jackson Pollock and
USAID was directly involved in essentially what it would prosecute DJs for back in the 1960s and 70s, which was the payola scandal. Okay,
Yeah.
they're literally giving them money to spread degenerate shit. Okay,
Yeah.
it kind of like, you know what? If there's one black people conspiracy that I think there might be some truth is in the whole like the CIA be trying to fuck up the black community. Okay, I'm like, you know what? You might be right because the CIA be fucking up
You're
everyone's
almost
community.
right. The CIA be trying to weaponize the black community, and those
That's
are
right.
two different things.
That's right. Hmm.
But
But the ultimate result is
Overlap.
it's not just a degradation of you; it's a degradation of everybody. Okay,
correct.
via you and your culture.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and put a pin in it right there, but hang out for a little bit.
Rock operas. Damn it.
Bro,
There's
hey,
one thing.
Mario, I make this commitment to you, Mario. You pick the Bible story, and I will walk you through turning it into a rock opera. And when I say that, I mean, if you want to, we'll start right after the show. Or we can do it all day tomorrow, or you can pick a day and say today's the day. And
I want to do this.
We'll make it happen.
I want to do the near stoning of Mary Magdalene. Okay, when Jesus quite literally saved a hoe. Okay.
Okay.
That's what I want to do because for obvious reasons that is kind of close to heart. Show us the puppies. Show them the puppies.
Okay.
Present the puppies.
Come here, good girl. Jules.
Oh, shit. Aaron Olson be like coming in with 3 examples right now. Okay. All right. Damn.
Oh, good girls. No, they bolted.
All right. They bolted. Oh, camera shy. Little puppos.
There she comes.
Hold on. Kenneth Bauer 380 had something here to say. Did you ever wonder if we started as a divine being and we devolved into the pot-bellied goblins we are today? Here, Pin, since we're still running, why don't you go ahead and oh, look at that. Look at that. That's just a pup. That's a baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's just a baby. All right.
Okay. Whoa. That's too far to jump, baby girl.
Yeah.
Oh, good girls. Good girls. Good girls.
Hey, Beastmaster, pay attention.
It's way past their bedtime. Okay, what do you want me to put?
Pin Kenneth Bauer's response. Okay, there you go. Did you ever wonder if we started out as divine being and then we devolved into the pot-bellied goblins we are today? Did you ever wonder if we have the entire concept of evolution backwards? You know what? It's funny. There is. It's a pseudoscience, of course, because it can't be. You can't prove it, right? Without having DNA samples from tens of thousands of years ago, right? But if you look in the Bible on the lifespan of some of these early figures in Genesis, okay, like Methuselah, for example, like Noah's uncle, I believe, who lived to like 900 years, right? Or all these guys living hundreds and hundreds of years, okay, before they died. There is the kind of a pseudoscientific or religio-scientific theory that has to do with the with telomere degeneration, okay, basically the tips of our DNA strands essentially unraveling at a greater and greater and greater rate the further we descend away from the original life form of man, which was Adam, okay, created by God, right? So the closer you are into creation, to the creation of man, the longer you are capable of living. And then the further we get away from that, okay, the shorter and shorter and shorter our lifespans become, the faster this the entropy that is cancer will consume our genetic structure. Okay, so yes, there is a pseudoscientific theory about that, which I find highly interesting. Okay, so
I'm adding that one to the deep dive arsenal. So
it's non-researchable. It's not worth deep diving. It's literally excerpt crackpot shit. Okay, but
well, that's fine. And we could explain that that's what it is, and just look it over. And it may be that the research path on that doesn't generate enough content to make an interesting show, or it may be that it actually is a very interesting topic to examine. Dude, the craziest crackpot conspiracy theories, I don't need to prove them to find them fascinating. Right? I mean, we could do a show on the spaghetti monster. I don't give a shit. As long as the show can be made interesting.
If you did a show on the spaghetti monster, that would be a show on quite possibly the most insufferable people on the planet. Okay, the ironic atheist. Okay, you thought atheists were obnoxious? Try ironic atheists.
Yeah,
or ironic theists, if you will. All right, Aaron Olson, you've got direct access to the show through the Camario chat. Okay, why don't you go ahead and drop a couple of those ideas for a rock opera, a biblical rock opera. Okay, I'm trying to keep it New Testament. All right, but do as thou wilt, my friend.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. Mario, hang out just a minute, and to you guys out in the audience, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching the show tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was entertaining and interesting, and we appreciate your patronage. We love you, and we will see you on Monday.
Thanks. Saw your late comment there, Kenneth. Thank you, and ciao.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I just switched.
I'm suspended. I'm suspended in time. Okay. I can't. I have done my conclusionary act. Okay, and now I could do no further action. I'm stuck here. No,